Welcome to this deep dive, everybody. Today we're going deep on Go Brunch, trying to figure out if it really lives up to the hype.
Right. Like, is it actually a different beast than Zoom, or are we just, falling for another shiny new thing?
Well, to get to the bottom of that, we've got a pretty diverse pile of sources here. We've got stories from people like Peggy MacArthur and Tanya Schultz, who've actually built communities on Go Brunch.
Oh, yeah. They're not just using it. They're like all in on this thing.
Exactly. Plus, we've got all the official marketing stuff from Go Brunch, posts about it on LinkedIn, even some pretty strong opinions comparing it to podcasts.
So we're not just looking at the platform itself, but also kind of the whole landscape it fits into.
You got it. All right, to kick us off, our sources point us to Peggy MacArthur, a photographer who wanted to build a community around her work. She tried the typical online courses, but, well, you know how those can be.
Yeah, sometimes it's tough to get that real spark going online.
Totally. So she decides to experiment with Go Brunch for her photography workshops instead. And get this? The engagement went through the roof.
People weren't just passively watching. They were actively participating, sticking around even after the official workshop was over.
Wow. Okay, I'm hooked already. But why? What's the secret sauce here?
It seems like a few things. First, Peggy calls her community time benders, which, I don't know, there's something kind of cool about that name.
Right, like it's bending time, making it irrelevant to connection or something?
Yeah, exactly. It kind of hints at this idea that Go Brunch isn't just another platform. It's a different way of experiencing time online.
Okay, but what about the platform itself? What's it got that other platforms don't?
Well, their marketing materials tout a pretty impressive suite of features. Customizable rooms, screen sharing, video conferencing, file sharing. The usual suspect.
Okay, but we've seen all that before. What's the twist?
The real kicker. They let you embed external apps like, Google Docs and Miro boards right into the space.
Hold on, embed. So it's not just about having a meeting, you're bringing your entire workflow into this environment.
Yep. Think about it. You can seamlessly bounce from brainstorming on a Miro board to drafting a proposal in a Google Doc, all without leaving Go Brunch.
And they say they even have recording capabilities, so even if you miss a live session, you're not totally out of the loop.
Exactly. It's about creating a space that's both flexible and persistent, almost like a virtual office you can access anytime.
All right, so we're seeing hints of why Go Brunch might be more than just hype, but it's not just for businesses or workshops, right?
You know it. Our sources introduce us to Tanya Schultz, and she's using Go Brunch in a way that surprised even me.
Okay, lay it on me. What's Tanya up to?
She's the president of the South Florida chapter of the Association for Women in Communications.
Interesting. So how does she fit into this whole Go Brunch thing?
Well, she's created this free co-working space on Go Brunch, specifically to, support and empower women.
I love that. Creating a space where women can connect and help each other out.
Yeah, and what's cool is that Tanya doesn't even call Go Brunch a platform. She calls it a virtual office.
So it's not just about functionality. It's about creating a sense of place, a community, a vibe.
Exactly. She even contrasts it with the, flat screen experience of other platforms,
Yeah.
Like, Go Brunch actually feels more like a real space.
That makes sense. And get this, she even talks about, crowdfunding, virtual wedding events, all happening on Go Brunch.
Yeah. It's like she's really pushing the limits of what we think of as possible in online spaces.
It's definitely making me rethink the possibilities of the digital world. But now we have to address the elephant in the room, right?
Right.
With all this emphasis on live audio, our podcast going the way of the dodo.
Our sources definitely tap into that debate. And it gets pretty heated at times. To explore this, we meet Keith Keller.
Okay, give us the rundown on Keith.
Well, he's a real veteran of the audio world. Traditional radio, blog talk radio, Twitter Spaces, and now Go Brunch.
Talk about a diverse resume. So what's his take on this whole live audio versus podcast showdown?
Well, he started out looking for alternatives to video, feeling, they were just too limiting. Then he got into Twitter Spaces for that real-time connection.
Right, that immediacy, that feeling of everyone being on the same wavelength, even if they're not physically together.
Exactly. But he ultimately wanted a platform with more depth, and that's where Go Brunch came in.
So he's looking for that being in the studio energy, but in a more robust environment. Makes sense.
And, he's not alone. Lots of folks are drawn to live audio. because of that immediacy, that party line feeling, being able to jump in and share your thoughts right then and there.
I totally get that. But let's not forget the beauty of podcasts. I mean, I can listen while I walk my dog, do the dishes, anytime, anywhere.
Right. That convenience and accessibility are huge pluses for podcasts.
Yeah.
They just fit into our busy lives in a way that live events sometimes can't.
Plus, I can pause, rewind, really absorb the information at my own pace. So, where do you land on this whole debate? Team live audio or team podcast?
Honestly, I don't think it's about picking sides. They both have their strengths and cater to different needs. It's more about recognizing the power of audio in general.
You mean like how we're wired to connect with voices and stories?
Exactly. And one of our sources, Richard Lowenthal, makes a really interesting point. He says people are often more inclined to listen than read,
That's so true, especially in today's world of information overload. Maybe audio, whether live or pre-recorded, is the key to really capturing people's attention.
That makes you think, right?
Yeah.
But okay, enough philosophize. We've got all this excitement about Go Brunch, but how do you actually use this thing effectively?
Yeah, because all the fancy features in the world won't help if you can't figure out how to, turn on your microphone.
True. Well, one of the first things that jumped out at me were what they call share button hacks.
Hacks. Sounds a bit edgy.
Not really hacks in the, breaking the system sense. More like clever ways to use the share button to make collaboration super seamless.
So sharing screens, boards, apps, all that good stuff.
Exactly. And the coolest part, it's all integrated right into the flow of the conversation. No need to jump between different apps or windows.
So it's not just about talking heads in a virtual room. You can actually create a dynamic, interactive experience.
You got it. And, they do a great job of providing clear instructions on how to use the different features. They've got these tutorials that walk you through everything.
Like microphone and camera controls, different room view options, screen sharing, all the basics.
All that, plus some cool stuff I hadn't even thought about, like workarounds for sharing certain apps that have those tricky subdomain names.
Nice. It sounds like they've really thought things through from a user's perspective. But what about the human side of things? Making sure everyone's on the same page and things run smoothly.
Well, that's where good old communication comes in. Joyce M. Moore, a leader in the tech world, made a great point about this on LinkedIn.
Okay, I'm listening.
She stressed the importance of setting clear expectations, especially when you're using, new technology with a team.
Makes sense. You've got to be on the same page about how to use the platform and what you're trying to achieve.
Right. Whether you're in a physical space or a virtual one, clear communication is key.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Peggy's photography community, the live audio versus podcast showdown, even some practical tips. What's next? Where do we go from here?
Well, we've only scratched the surface of what Go Brunch can do. It goes way beyond just meetings and co-working spaces. Get this, it's already being used for large-scale events.
So hold on. Larger scale events, like full-blown conferences and conventions. You're kidding.
Nope. Let's dive into that next.
Larger scale events, like full-blown conferences and conventions. You're kidding.
Nope. One of our sources mentions this World Building Expo.
A World Building Expo, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but also a little confused. What exactly is world building?
Yeah, it's basically like creating imaginary worlds, for books, movies, video games, that kind of thing.
Oh, I see. So like building the world of Middle-earth in Lord of the Rings or the galaxy in Star Wars?
Exactly. And this XPO, it was hosted by Go Brunch and Epicverse World Builders.
Okay, so they're using a virtual platform to host an event about building virtual worlds. That's pretty meta.
It is kind of a virtual worldception situation, but it shows that they're thinking big, not just limiting themselves to small group interactions.
That's a bold move. So was this XPO just a bunch of people sitting in a virtual room talking about world building?
Not just talking, they were actually using Go Brunch to, collaborate on world building projects, share ideas, get feedback, all in real time.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. It sounds like they're really pushing the boundaries of what's possible with this platform.
They are. And it's not just limited to events like this XPO. Remember Angela, the fashion entrepreneur we talked about earlier?
Yeah, the one with the virtual fashion boutique and the wig reveal room.
That's her. Well, what she's doing is a perfect example of how Go Brunch can be used to, blur the lines between commerce and community.
Okay, how so? I'm not sure I follow.
Instead of just browsing products on a static website, customers can actually walk through her virtual showroom.
Like they can virtually try on clothes?
Kinda. They can interact with the clothing, get a feel for the textures and colors, and even get real-time feedback from Angela herself.
That's so cool. It's like a personalized shopping experience, but, without having to leave your house.
Yeah, exactly. It brings back that human element that's often missing from online shopping.
So it's less about replacing traditional e-commerce and more about enhancing it, making it more engaging, more interactive.
Exactly. And it shows how GoBrunch can be used to build communities around brands and products, not just individuals or professions.
Okay, so we've got virtual events, online shopping, community building. Is there anything this platform can't do?
Well, let's not get too carried away. It's still a relatively new platform, and it definitely faces some stiff competition. But, the early signs are pretty promising.
I'll say that. But all this talk about innovation and pushing boundaries makes me wonder, what are some of the other features that make GoBrunch stand out?
Well, they've definitely put a lot of thought into user experience. One thing that really impressed me was their Presenter Cam.
Presenter Cam. Okay, what's that all about?
Basically, it lets you, share your video feed in a larger format so you can really focus on the presenter.
Makes sense for presentations or demos, right? But what about those times when you want a more collaborative feel where everyone's on equal footing?
Oh, they've thought of that too. They have different room view options so you can switch between dynamic mode and presentation mode depending on the situation.
Dynamic mode and presentation mode. Okay, I'm picturing two very different vibes here. Break it down for me.
So dynamic mode is all about creating a more immersive experience.
Yeah.
It's like, you're all sitting around a virtual table together.
So everyone's video feed is equally prominent, like a Brady Bunch grid.
Yeah, kind of like that. It's great for brainstorming or, those times when you want more organic, free-flowing conversation.
Got it. And presentation mode, that's probably more like the traditional webinar format, right?
Exactly. The focus is on the speaker and their content, minimizing distractions. Perfect for workshops or formal presentations.
So GoBrunch gives you the flexibility to switch between those modes depending on what you're trying to achieve. Pretty cool.
It is. And they've also paid attention to the little things that make a big difference in terms of user experience.
Like what? Give me an example.
Like their profile management system. You can update your name, profile picture, all that stuff right within the platform. No need to jump between different screens or anything.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's the little things that often make or break a platform. But enough about features and functionality. Let's hear from the people who are actually using this thing.
Yeah, let's get some real-world perspectives. We've got some great quotes from satisfied GoBrunch users.
I'm all ears. Let's hear what they have to say.
So, Francesco Iannello, who's the CEO of AUG Intel's Consulting, said, "We're using GoBrunch to recreate that productive and engaging environment that you have inside a physical office."
That's a powerful statement. It's like they're trying to bring the best aspects of the physical office into the virtual world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Marissa Lowen, who's the CEO of Create the Rules, added, "We have formed incredible relationships within our community by giving them 247 access to the virtual rooms built in GoBrunch."
That 24/7 access is a game changer, isn't it? It creates a sense of persistent connection, like a virtual water cooler where people can drop in and chat anytime.
Right. It's about fostering that sense of community that goes beyond scheduled meetings or events.
Okay, I'm starting to see why people are so excited about this platform. But let's circle back to Peggy MacArthur, the photographer who built the Time Benders community. How has her experience evolved beyond those initial workshops?
Well, remember how Tanya talked about co-working spaces?
Yeah, those virtual offices where women can connect and support each other.
Well, Peggy's actually created co-working spaces within her GoBrunch community, specifically for photographers.
Oh, wow. So it's like a virtual studio where they can hang out, work on their projects, and get feedback from each other.
Exactly. And she's even gone a step further and created dedicated editing rooms.
Editing rooms. I love that. What a brilliant way to create a supportive environment for photographers to refine their craft.
It is. It really highlights how GoBrunch can be tailored to the specific needs of a community.
So it's not just about replicating what we do in the physical world, it's about creating new possibilities that are only possible in a virtual environment.
Precisely. It's about using technology to enhance human connection and creativity.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. Virtual events, online shopping, community building, collaborative editing. What other surprises does this platform have in store for us?
Well, we're about to find out.
All right, so we've seen how GoBrunch is being used for everything from virtual events to collaborative editing. It's clear this platform is pushing the boundaries of what we think of as possible online. But what does all of this mean in the bigger picture?
Well, if we step back and look at all these different pieces together, what's really fascinating is that GoBrunch represents a shift away from transactional online interactions toward more experiential ones.
All right, I like where this is going, but could you unpack that a bit more for me?
Sure. Think about like traditional video conferencing tools, right? They're great for, meetings, webinars, getting down to business. But they often lack that sense of immersion, of shared presence that we crave as humans.
So it's like the difference between a sterile office cubicle and a cozy coffee shop where you can actually, connect with people.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. GoBrunch is trying to create that coffee shop vibe, but online. It's about fostering a sense of community, spontaneity, shared experience that goes beyond just checking items off a to-do list.
And we've seen how that translates into specific uses, like, Peggy's Time Benders community and Tanya's virtual co-working space. But what are the broader implications of this?